Hi, it's Anne Marie with AM. Nobody knows how to pronounce that. It's AYEM. AM stands for Anne Marie, AM Astrology. And I thought it would be fun to take a look at the charts for George Santos, and then today's chart for when he was expelled, and also just a couple other charts that relate to it. And disclaimer, we do not have a birth time for George, but he probably would have lied on it anyway, right? So it's just a 12 noon chart. So I'm going to share my screen and pull up his. So this is his birth chart, with a 12 noon, because that's just, when you don't have the time, you usually do a 12 noon, or you can put the sun on the ascendant. Those are the two options that you have, or an Aries rising would be helpful as well. So we can't really get a lot from the houses because of the non knowing the time of the birth. But what we can see, some pretty significant things. Now the moon can go 12 and a half degrees a day. So at 12 noon, which is the middle, obviously, of the day, 12 hours before to midnight and 12 hours beyond to midnight. So 6 degrees either way. So it could be a 0 degree Scorpio moon, or it could be a 12 degree Scorpio moon. Scorpio is wanting to get to the bottom of things, or it could also be secretive things. And we know that he's very secretive and deceptive, and we need to get to the bottom of things. Pluto, obviously, is the planet of transformation. How many times has this man transformed his life into worse and worse conditions, supposedly? And then the moon is our emotions, and it's also it's the way we're mothered, or the way we mother, and it's also our body. So that combination there is being, you can almost say, transforming the emotional connection to his body and being very secretive about it. That's just a lumping together, just willy-nilly. The other thing he has is this 27 degrees Saturn-Uranus conjunction right on the galactic center of all things. That's another significant marker in his chart. Saturn being the ruler of Capricorn and Aquarius, and Uranus being what's called the modern ruler of Aquarius, but it can be affiliated with Aquarius. I don't call it a ruler. I don't call the outer planets rulers of the signs. But right there on the galactic center seems to indicate, boundaries and limitations, Saturn. Tradition is a Saturnian thing as well. The bones and the skin, and but tradition, and then having Uranus. Uranus is the explosive planet that says, I'm going to do it my own way. And so having those two things conflicting right there on the galactic center, I think it kind of indicates possibly, that his aim in life was for his soul's purpose coming into this incarnation could have been something along the lines of, stirring things up, bringing in a cause for questioning, because Sagittarius is all about finding the higher meaning for something. And so when we, what better way to look for a better way to do things than to see somebody that's doing it so horribly wrong, and bringing out just how could somebody like this, with all their lies and deception, be in Congress? Like, that's just, we got to figure that out. So that Saturn and Uranus kind of, is a way of saying, I'm going to be the one that makes everybody think, how the hell did you get here? So that's a key thing in his chart. 0 degrees of Leo, because the 22nd, was the sun had just ingressed into Leo on that day. So who knows at what time? So we don't know the minutes. But it could either be 29 degrees Cancer or 0 degrees Leo. It's in the sextile to Jupiter. That sextile, and it's an opening sextile, so that I don't know what that could mean. Possibly, it's so hard to do this without knowing what houses they represent. But the Sun opening sextile from Jupiter is, there's having that connection is just bigger than life, I would think. Jupiter is just the expansion, and so he is kind of bigger than life. Like he's look at me, and that's a Leo for sure. And then having that sextile to Jupiter is just making it even bigger than it should be. Sextile to Jupiter, trine to the Sun. So it's like he's taking opportunities. He's going to act Mars, Aries. He's going to act on any opportunity he gets. And, being bigger than life, he's going to act on it. So that's just real quick, probably longer than I needed to talk about a chart that we don't really know what the houses are. So then I want to do let's look at today's chart for when he was in this. We can look at the houses because I looked at it was like 11 a.m. If you watch, it was 11 a.m. Washington, D.C. when Johnson did the hammer and everything, and the clock was like right behind him, so we knew that that's what time it was. So yay. So here now in his chart, in his natal chart, he had that Moon Pluto conjunction. Now we've got this Moon Pluto opposition, and Pluto is like right on the ascendant or close to the ascendant. It's rising at that time. Pluto is the transformation, the death and rebirth, the let's get this over with, let's get the dirt out of here, get the trash. Somebody needs to take the trash out. Pluto's saying, get the trash out of here. It's time to bring things to light and get the trash out of here. And at the end of Capricorn, end of the tradition, Capricorn being traditional government, the top-down government, and it's Pluto's just saying, I am finishing up my time here in Capricorn, and we need to take the trash out. And so I just love that about this chart, and with that opposition to that moon. So that signature is repeating itself. The promise from his natal chart is now this opposition, a point in time that says from his natal chart, something significant. This represents something significant. And it's look at that 2959. It's like that very last second of Cancer before, or last minute, I guess I should say, before moving into Leo, which is where his sun is, right? We'll look at that in a minute when we do the bi-wheel, but I just wanted to point out some things on this chart. So the ruler of the chart is Saturn because of Aquarius rising. And so Saturn is here in the first house. What better way to say, tradition is happening, is the rules are going to be obeyed now. We're going to see some reason, some logic happening now in Pisces, finally off the 0 degree of Pisces. What else do we see? We've got the sun separating from the conjunction with Mars. And so, there's in his natal chart, we're going to look at that again, but his natal chart has the trine from Mars to the sun. And in this chart, Mars rules the 9th and the 10th houses. The 9th house is of higher learning and beliefs. And the 10th house is a very public, our reputation. And so Mars is in the 10th house. And so it's just like this conflict of his reputation. It's time to come to, it's coming to heads, and it's not, he's getting booted out. And Sagittarius is also, it's a sign of higher learning and beliefs and philosophy. And so it's like, no, our philosophy is we need to get rid of nonsense like this. If we look at the bi-wheel now, actually we're going to do, wait. I want to put, because we know the time of the expulsion, we don't know the time of his birth. So I'm going to put the expulsion on the inside and then his natal chart on the outside. So this is the expulsion on the inside and his natal chart on the outside. And immediately you can see this. So the moon today is applying to the conjunction with the sun. And at noon, this 2959 is applying. It's like it's an old moon. You know how a new moon is when the moon meets the sun, and then, is the conjunction, and then the moon moves past the sun. Well, this moon is closing in on the sun. It hasn't matched the sun yet. So it's like an old moon closing down a cycle, finished, done. You're not getting away with this anymore. We can't really look at the ascendant there because we don't know what time he was born. What was the other thing? So the Pluto moon, we've already talked about that, but it's opposing his sun. So we're seeing those connections again, so that this Jupiter is in play with the Pluto moon, and then we've got the Pluto moon opposition here. So there's just that repetition. Now, so the other thing that I looked at was his solar return. And this is going to be a little bit rough because it's bringing the sun to the same degree that it was on the day he was born. But we don't know the exact degree, because like I said, it could either be 0 degrees Leo or it could be 29 degrees Cancer if he was born early in the morning. But we're going to bring it to this 12 noon time. So you purists out there are going to be like, what? She doesn't know what she's doing. I do know what I'm doing. I just don't have a birth time. So I'm winging it. So this is the solar return for this year, July of this year. And look at this, the moon is kind of in the same place. It's not at the same degree, but it's at that setting from what it was doing today. At 29 degrees Cancer, it was at the same position in the chart, and it's 28 degrees Virgo, opposing Neptune. So you just get this sense of these outer planets have like just this sense of karma to them. They're just, there's heaviness and, lessons to be learned. And so we have, not only is it opposing Neptune, but there's a connection to Pluto again. It's in a trine and it's applying to that trine. It's a closing trine. Again, I just think this Neptune, like right on the ascendant of his solar return chart, says, yeah, all of that ambiguity, all of those lies and deception, that's all going to be coming to the forefront in this year on your birthday. This is all coming to the forefront. And I'm being hedgy a little bit because we don't, again, with the whole solar return, we don't know the exact timing of it, but this is when it gets back, and it sure makes sense to me. I don't know if it makes sense to you, but I see Neptune on the ascendant there. Seems like, pay attention, look out. We also have, that was the main thing that I think I wanted to point out. Okay, so I have to go back in here and add the part about Sun opposite Pluto, for crying out loud. How did I miss that in the first recording? So you will be confronted with people or powerful situations that will put all of your strength to the test. Some of these situations will be inner conflicts, and you will have to fight your own habits or negative memories that are deeply ingrained inside you. This is a year of transformation and profound changes in your personality. Don't lose your balance, and don't react aggressively or with violence to tense situations. If you undertake some type of therapy or consultation with a professional, you will manage these energies more positively. The principal conflicts are brought on by people who exercise authority over you. You will fight for power in order to determine who dominates who. You could be confronted with a person who is overbearing or tyrannical, or you may be a person who is overbearing or tyrannical, or it may be you who will dominate and be inflexible when dealing with others. This could cause ruptures in relationships or jobs, right? And total changes in your social circle. In addition, this influence could cause breakdowns or problems with machines or equipment owned by you and could lead to disputes over the repairs. On the more negative side, this astrological aspect could expose you to some kind of physical violence. Control your speed and stay away from people or places that could be dangerous for you. Well, so then there's this thing called 12th harmonic, to see if a specific month, like on your solar return, you can look at your solar return. If there's anything significant, like we saw, if I looked at my solar return and I had, oh, moon opposite Neptune, what could that mean? Something to deal, emotional deception, or, and the full moon, this is kind of like a full moon to the Neptune, right? So the opposition there says you've reached the climax, you've reached the furthest point from when that cycle began. And so there's something there that's, it's been increasing. You hit that full moon point, and then it starts decreasing. It says, okay, now we play it all out. But this is the penultimate point. And so if I saw that in my solar return, I would say I would do a 12th harmonic and run through each month when you bring the sun to the same degree but the next sign over, and take a look and see if there's any signatures there that would. You could also do the moon, but then you're not going to do months. You're going to just move the moon. It's going to be a lot quicker, like it's like weeks more than months. But so when you're looking at a solar return the whole year, we want to just look at each month, and specifically this month, when does the sun get to 0 degrees Sagittarius, because we are in Sagittarius season. So this is, as you can see, the sun at 002 of Sagittarius. So I've moved the sun from 002 Leo to 002 Sagittarius, which happened on November 22nd. This is December 1st. So that's the closest one. And so you look at this for this month and see, well, what is the sign here? Well, we've still got that the sun separating from Mars. And look at this square to Saturn, saying, Saturn is the Lord of karma, right? It's like, pay up. Squares are like, gotta deal with it, make a decision. And then the moon, now remember, it was opposing Neptune on a solar return. Well, now it's in this conjunction. It's separating away from the deception of Neptune. So it's just like, this is so fascinating. Astrology really does know what it's talking about. That's just a quick little, and I know it's not, purists are going to be like, that's bullshit, you don't have the times, but you can see, I didn't look a whole lot at the houses, but you can see the planetary placements, and those would be accurate. So let me know what you think about that. I found it pretty interesting, and we will be talking to you soon. Please like, share, and subscribe. Let me know if there's anyone else that you'd like me to take a look at their charts for. Bye-bye.
I'm into the moon and take a trip amongst the stars. There are aliens from Jupiter and Mars. In other words, conspiracy. In other words, look at me. Show's over, folks. Move along.